Welcome to the Lifestyle Medicine Update. I'm Dr. James Meschino. You know, a very important 2018 study published in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute has provided compelling evidence that more optimal blood levels of vitamin D provide significant protection against colorectal cancer development. Now, this is important because colorectal cancer is the third leading cause of cancer-related death in North America and in many developed countries. And diet and lifestyle may be able to prevent 70 to 90% of these cases, according to the published data. So the evidence points very strongly to the fact that in most cases, the development of colorectal cancer is most strongly tied to faulty nutrition and lifestyle factors, whereby lifestyle factors include such things as inadequate physical activity, being overweight, smoking, and moderate to heavy alcohol consumption. Although a variety of nutritional factors are linked to colorectal cancer, and I can't cover all of them in this particular segment, over the years studies have suggested that vitamin D as one of those factors may help prevent colorectal cancer, but more definitive data was required. That's why this study was so important. So these researchers compiled data from 17 cohort studies comprising 5,000 colorectal cancer case participants and over 7,000 individuals that served as sort of the control participants. And they drew blood on 12,000 individuals. Over the course of these sort of 17 studies that they pooled together. And then they followed these people for an average of 5.5 years. And what they saw is that individuals who initially registered a blood vitamin D level at the beginning of the study that was above 50 to 63 nanomoles per liter. So normally, to prevent osteoporosis, they say you need to have a blood vitamin D level at about 50 to 63 nanomoles per liter. So they said that's probably the acceptable range of vitamin D. But individuals that had blood levels that were higher than that showed a 22% lower risk of developing colorectal cancer than individuals whose initial vitamin D blood levels were within this sort of what we consider to be the adequate range of 50 to 63 nanomoles per liter. So individuals that had higher levels actually had more protection against colorectal cancer, 22% reduction. So we know that vitamin D is required to prevent osteoporosis, and with respect to osteoporosis prevention, most authorities suggest that maintaining that vitamin D blood level at 50 to 63 nanomoles per liter is adequate and sufficient. However, from the standpoint of colorectal cancer prevention, it appears that a year-round vitamin D blood level higher than this value is required to achieve an additional 22% reduction in risk of colorectal cancer. So I normally suggest to patients that they strive to achieve a vitamin D blood level of at least 85 nanomoles per liter. And in some high-risk cases, I might push their vitamin D blood level up to 150 nanomoles per liter. Now, in the same study, researchers also found that individuals who had an initial vitamin D blood level that was below 30 nanomoles per liter, so this is much lower now, had a 31% higher risk of developing colorectal cancer over the ensuing 5 years than did individuals whose initial vitamin D level was between 50 and 63. So we see that the lower the vitamin D, the higher is the risk of colorectal cancer. The higher the vitamin D, the lower the risk became. And many previous studies have shown various ways in which vitamin D reduces risk of colorectal cancer. For example, human and experimental studies have shown the following anti-cancer effects of vitamin D on colorectal cancer development. So vitamin D slows down the rate of division of the cells that line the colon. So slowing down the rate of cell division leads to fewer genetic mistakes in the genes that are linked to cancer. So you always want to slow down the rate at which cells are dividing to decrease the amount of mutations that occur in the cell. Vitamin D slows down the rate of cell division of the cells that line the colon. Vitamin D also stimulates within cells that are becoming cancer cells, it encourages them to commit suicide, what we call programmed cell death. Scientists call this apoptosis, but vitamin D stimulates pathways that if a cancer cell is forming, it can encourage the cell to commit programmed cell death and not become a threat to the neighboring cells or the neighborhood itself within the colon. Vitamin D also helps cells fully mature into beautiful adult cells. This is called cellular differentiation. The more fully mature cells become, the more resistant they are to becoming transformed into cancer cells. Vitamin D does this on the colon, the cells that line the colon as well. Vitamin D also blocks an important pathway that's commonly defective in colon cancer development. So when you look at colon cancer cells and you look at them genetically, often you see sort of an overexpression of what's called the Wnt pathway or the WNT pathway. It's very common in colon cancer. Vitamin D prevents this disruption of the Wnt pathway, decreasing the likelihood that colon cancer will develop. Vitamin D also reduces inflammation, which is a known risk factor for many cancers. It also modulates the immune function, which is an important part of cancer prevention. And vitamin D reduces the synthesis of some key factors that are linked to colon cancer metastasis, such as the secretion of this molecule called VEGF, which is involved when colon cells are trying to get more blood so that they can increase the tumor size and metastasize to other parts of the body. Vitamin D has been shown to shut down the secretion of VEGF and other important molecules that are linked to cancer progression. So the authors of the study make the point that this 2018 review of vitamin D in colon cancer, published in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute, should be taken quite serious by individuals and by health agencies like the American Cancer Society, the Canadian Cancer Society, and other cancer societies around the world when establishing guidelines for the public. The evidence suggests that most adults should aim for a blood vitamin D level above 63 nanomoles per liter as one means by which to help prevent colorectal cancer. Now, this can be achieved by eating fish twice a week, the ingestion of low-fat vitamin D fortified dairy products, usually combined with the use of vitamin D supplements, and also exposure of the skin to ultraviolet light. However, excess exposure to the skin of ultraviolet light from the sun or tanning beds may also increase the risk of skin cancer, and thus researchers encourage dietary and supplemental vitamin D as the main strategies in which to optimize vitamin D status. Once again, the consideration here is to get your vitamin D blood level above 63 nanomoles per liter. We think that this has important implications as part of a strategy to decrease the risk of colorectal cancer, the third leading cause of cancer-related death. So I've included a link to the research study in the text below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.